is not cross-server PvP, where it is hard to micro those Void Rays or that one Immortal. No, this is Europe. The man barely has any ping, and I don't think I could have said it any better. It really does feel that he's starting to figure out all over again. In the top left side, guys, we are looking at the main base of the man that is representing Storm Gaming. We call him the Prince of Denmark. This is MaxPax.
And spawning over in the southeast side, newest edition of Team Liquid. It is SKillous. This is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is a really interesting one to me, because when it comes to PvP in Europe, MaxPax is obviously an absolute beast. And when I think about players that he's kind of dethroned as the king of Europe in this matchup, it's like Showtime was obviously an absolute beast, but SKillous, he also feels like a thirsty up-and-comer, you know? Like, he lives and breathes StarCraft, he thinks about it all the time, but they are so different in their playstyles and about how they approach the matchup. And you see that right away here. SKillous opting for the 2-gate, which in the past he's been a massive advocate of, but he's gone against the king of the 1-gate fast expand here. How do you see this one playing out for both of them?
Well, I think we're going to get a lot of mind games throughout the best of 5. And that's obviously something that's always been around, right? Since the dawn of day, PvP, mind games. You try to trigger your opponent. You try to show something what you're not actually doing. But especially, I think, in the modern era of PvP, where you know MaxPax goes for fast expands. Like, SKillous has a couple choices, right? Choice number 1 is delay, delay, delay. Pylon block into cybernetics core block. And expand yourself. Option B is do the exact same thing, but that is just where MaxPax really seems to excel, so you don't really want to do that. You have another option where you're like all out aggression, right? Whether it's a 3-gate or a 4-gate or a 1-base blink stalker all in. And the final option is I'm gonna make it seem like I'm all-inning. I'm gonna force out a certain reaction, but then I'll actually play normal and take the game from there. And I have the feeling that we're gonna see a lot from that from SKillous, but obviously you can't do that every game, right? Because MaxPax is gonna pick up on things very quickly. As I am a bit surprised by the opening of SKillous so far, and I really wonder where he goes with this. Okay, it will be Stargate. So speaking of mind games, maybe this is one of these mind games where it works out. He's selling this as like, hey, I'm gonna 3-gate you, I'm gonna 4-gate you, and if I were you, I would build a Robo, even over a Stargate, because Immortals are better in the straight-up fight than Void Rays are. What Immortals are not very good at are Oracles, so I kind of like it. I don't know if you can do that every single game, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, this was SKillous very much trying to sell something. Like, he had the probe in the base, then he moved out a second probe onto the map, which went a weird way about things. Then it never did anything. And MaxPax came back, saw the probe heading back, and was like, what's going on here? Gets to see that scouting pile, or rather that proxy pile as well. But so far, for all intents and purposes, nothing really achieved. And that shield battery being so far forward is, okay, if you're doing something a little bit sneaky here, like forward kind of thing, then I can hold it off. But yeah, it just feels like a decent opening for MaxPax, but I guess it all depends on what that Oracle can really get done here.
Yeah. SKillous knows that he has put himself in the position where he absolutely needs to find some economic damage. It doesn't have to be insane, like, wow, 15 probes, game over. But he obviously needs to do a decent amount with these Oracles. Maybe he can make up for the little economic deficit that he's currently still in by going up to 3 bases quicker. As MaxPax may be forced to let this shield battery finish up, and well, he at least does that. Now, one battery can heal up the other one. But now we're going to have to keep a close eye on these Oracles. Oracle number 1 is out. Oracle number 2 is about to reveal itself. Oracle number 1 goes into the main base. But with the shield battery there, I don't think there's a whole lot this first Oracle can do. We're going to try to drop a stasis, but we'll get, well, literally a perfect reaction out of MaxPax.
Oh, and sneaking up a pylon in the main base, but is spotted by SKillous, so does get to find out what's going on. I think that probe did get to spot that Twilight Council functioning as well. So both players totally in the know of what's going on the other side of things, but yeah, SKillous has definitely been a little bit sneaky, and even though his Nexus was later, the fact that MaxPax had to respect the kind of madness that SKillous had on the map, he's actually equal on the work account.
Yeah, no, he's done a great job. If you're equal on the work account, your blink is slightly quicker than the blink of MaxPax, and you still have those 2 Oracles flying around, you love it. Now, is it all bad news for MaxPax? Nope, because MaxPax did have a very quick robo, and information is so important in PvP, and having an observer on the other side of the map is lovely. SKillous is aware of that though, so he drops the revelation, observer goes down. Yeah, overall, I'd say SKillous definitely got himself in a very playable spot here. And as I mentioned earlier, he should be the one going up to 3 bases a little bit quicker, right? Because obviously, MaxPax cannot really defend 3 mineral lines right now until he's got Blink. So it makes sense that SKillous is able to go up to 3 bases a little bit quicker than MaxPax is.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And a Dark Shrine on the way for MaxPax. Now, it's not always a sign that you're going to play the DTs and run them in, but if you're relying on your Oracles for vision, for revelations as well, there is absolute potential. And those Oracles have had to be at home for quite a while, just to sort out the Observer, sort out the depths on the map. But this is a beautiful scout from SKillous. He's seeing everything that's going on.
Yeah, I think it would have made more sense for MaxPax to have the Stalkers a little bit closer towards the edge of the main base there, to make it harder for a single revelation to reveal everything. I guess the thing that MaxPax was worried about was the Oracle sneaking in all the way via the top left side, and then they would be able to activate Pulsar Beam, and since Blink wasn't quite done yet, he'd still lose a bunch of probes. So MaxPax decided to play it very safe. We'll now also know that he can get too carried away with his Dark Shrine investment, as we're going to have our first potential Stalker skirmish. But SKillous' Oracles, they're still finding damage right now. It's just 2 probes, as 2 Stalkers have blinked towards these Oracles. I think one of the Oracles should absolutely be able to get a couple of additional workers. So 2 initially, 3 on top, forward blink though. MaxPax does punish the greed.
He punishes the greed, and for the loss of 5 probes, but I'm looking at that production tab. Like, SKillous has had to go into cannons in his mineral lines here because he didn't go for that Robo. Still has forgone it entirely. And I mean, that is always a risky move because those cannons can die pretty damn quickly. But charge on the way, and he's been pretty good to defend everything. MaxPax is going to find his own economic damage here. Nice splitting of the adepts, but the firing, it's not actually together here. Nice little revelation. It's starting to be a little bit of madness between these two, almost.
Yeah, but SKillous is definitely deflecting all of it quite well, right? He has taken care of the adepts. The DT is not able to accomplish a whole lot, and he didn't send too many units into the main base on natural. So he left plenty of units at the third. One DT is being a bit annoying. That's one thing that the adepts did, right? The adepts gave MaxPax the heads up. Like, hey, you have a cannon in the main base, but you do not have a cannon in the natural. So if I can just sneak a single Dark Templar into the natural, you need to make sure that your Oracle is there. And the Oracle is there in the end, but this is still one hell of a DT. 7 probes go down in the end. And now suddenly things look a little bit better again for the Prince. But, you know, it's still not bad for SKillous. He's already made an investment in all the extra gateways. He even has a Phoenix on the production tab right now. I think it's just to take care of that pesky War Prism. Does not want to be bothered by that all game long.
And I think it's a move as well, like to prevent that Warp Prism, or just to force a recall or anything, just to stop it from being a thorn in your side is definitely a move. Would definitely be annoying for me as an F2er, you know, getting my Phoenix in my group all the time, but the supplies are very close. We can definitely say that SKillous is ahead on upgrades, having charge almost finish here, +2 on the way as well. Going to start his 4th base a little bit quicker than MaxPax, but it's not because he's slow to the punch. He looks like he's establishing it over to the left side. So both going about their bases in a little bit of a different fashion as well.
Yeah, it's a very cool game, and it all started with SKillous being on the assumption that with what he showed to MaxPax, MaxPax would always go Robo. Because if MaxPax would have just gone Stargate, which was the tradition for a little while, I think this would have all gone a whole lot better for MaxPax. But SKillous just kind of knows what MaxPax knows what SKillous could potentially do, and he's like, I'm gonna make my life a bit easier with the Robo, and that has forced this relatively cool game. 9 minutes in, honestly not a whole lot separating these two players. Looks good for SKillous, but a game looking good really does not mean a whole lot against MaxPax unless you've got him down and out. There's everything to pray for, especially with an upgrade like Shadow Stride on the production tab right now. We all know how quickly DTs can turn a game up its head.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the deviations here. SKillous is going for that +2 very quickly, along with armor on a 2nd forge. So absolutely committing to this gateway flock, going for a 5th Nexus style. This is like an old school gateway style from a while ago, where it feels like you go up to like 90-ish probes. I know he isn't doing that just yet, but 4 probes at a time. Definitely a blast from the past. I feel like Hellraiser and SKillous were the 2 guys really utilizing this in Europe, but that Immortal, you have to respect that, and also these Zealots coming in from the north side here.
Yep, I love that blink by MaxPax, just kind of opening up the path for the Zealots, for the Immortal, to start participating in the fight. Will MaxPax continue fighting? It's always so hard to fight into the defensive reinforcements of your opponent, as +2 is going to finish up for SKillous as well. And with this many Stalkers, I really want to believe SKillous should be fine, because he has the reinforcements as he blinks forward, snipes the Immortal too. That was not just a hold for SKillous, but that's a little dub in the end, because he's the one working with Double Forge. He's the one who just picked up the power unit that's the Immortal, and he is the one going up to 5 bases, while MaxPax is only now starting his 5th base. It's definitely all starting to look pretty good for our Team Liquid member here in Game 1, but it is hard to end the game, especially if we enter the stage of PvP where multiple batteries and cannons are in the mix. We saw a fight earlier today in the ESL Masters Asia between Haz and Firefly, where a battery really made all the difference. Now, SKillous is very experienced, and even though once upon a time he made that famous tweet saying that shield battery overcharge wasn't really all that good, man, oh, he knows, and he's gonna avoid the bad fights.
He certainly is, and he's fighting here. He's going to take out this far left base, leaving just a few Zealots to kind of fend off those Stalkers, but he has to be careful back at home because those DTs are going to start going to town here. Massive warp in, and that Oracle did come home in pretty damn good time. A recall might lose a couple of DTs here for his efforts, but gets a little bit of damage done, but it was not worth it at all overall. And MaxPax, he's going to have to get some real good moves in this game, or hope that SKillous kind of slips on the ball a little bit here, because SKillous is all over it, map control wise and base wise.
Yep, but it's still difficult to end it once more, and I don't know, like, it's so hard when you're working with the exact same units. Like, when do I fully send it? When do I go into the Zealots? When do I go into Stalkers? SKillous says just the Zealots and Stalkers is good enough here. If you make Archons, my Stalkers can take care of it. If you make Zealots, my Zealots have better upgrades. As he blinks forward, snipes that battery immediately, and that should really open the door for these upgrades of SKillous to shine. As long as he just keeps warping in, and he's got that warp prism in the back. MaxPax, the king of PvP, really is in all sorts of trouble here in Game 1 as he does warp in a DT. There is one observer, it's a little bit towards the right. It's going to show up in a couple of seconds. I do not believe that this one DT is going to make the difference. It bought some time. MaxPax going to have to snipe another observer, but I don't think it's possible. Look at how well SKillous is positioning it.
Yeah, I mean, SKillous is the one sniping the obs, and look at that supply, it is dwindling. MaxPax fighting for his absolute dear life here, but GG SKillous takes a little bit of a surprise first map here.
And he looked damn good doing it, right? That's, I think, the biggest win. It's always nice if you take a game 1 over a MaxPax, you take a 1-0 lead. But if it's just with a 3-gate or a 4-gate, you're like, okay, I don't know if I can really do that a whole lot more. This was just a solid game where he says, like, hey, I'm going to show you something. I'll give you the idea that I'm one base all-inning you. But actually, I'm just macroing, and I'm just going to try to even things up with the Adepts, with the Oracles, and yeah, SKillous played it out very well. 2 good fights. Love how decisive he was with the forward blinks there. And obviously sniping down those batteries immediately because he knows that could have still made all the difference. And he just didn't really give any openings to MaxPax, where MaxPax normally is so good in turning a little deficit into an even game or even an advantage for MaxPax. Even when MaxPax was Adepts in the natural, DT in the main, Blinkstalk army, the third, SKillous is like, nope, copy units, main army, I'm good, I'm fine, I know what's happening. SKillous looked really good there in Game 1.
Yeah, like, even though SKillous went for this, what I think is a inferior opening when both of those match up, those little mind games that he didn't look like he was trying to super trick his opponent in like a super gimmicky way. It was just like, you have to resort to this if I'm doing this, and it slows you down a little bit. And I like that he spots the Robo, goes for the Oracle, and, you know, the stasis, the initial thing didn't work out that well. But all the little games that happened on the map, there was like a very small resource lead for SKillous when it came to who's killed more, and then having 2 Oracles on the field as well. That's so annoying in PvP, because you have to have the ability to deflect them, but to like make them go away, because you want them to go away, because they can always threaten your base and your situation that you're in. So very nicely done by SKillous. And yeah, SKillous isn't the kind of Protoss that you can just out micro in this matchup. Even if MaxPax did have the best micro in the world, SKillous isn't that far behind. So yeah, when it comes to a lot of these Stalker skirmishes, you can't just bulldoze him down.
Now, SKillous is very good, but historically, MaxPax really did have his number. They have played 46 series against each other, Ben, and MaxPax has won 38. MaxPax has also won 12 out of the last 13. Like, those are insane numbers in PvP, and there is no one else that's gonna beat SKillous 12 out of 13 series in a PvP, man. I just don't see that happening. But so far, so good for this, man, because the history, the past does not matter. It's about this quarterfinals right now in the ESL Masters. Top right side spawning as our blue Protoss representing Team Liquid. This is SKillous.
And proud member of Psystorm Gaming. Spawner in the bottom left as our red toss. It is MaxPax. Do you ever feel in PvP that even if you are a guy like MaxPax, if you are going for what is considered a very predictable opening with the one gate fast expand, do you think that can, in a long series like this, get the better of you or be a little bit of a weakness?
No, I do not believe that, because literally there is not one guaranteed great build against it. Like, we went over it a little bit in the beginning of that previous game, where it's like, okay, SKillous can do A, B, C, D, E, but especially on maps with a ramp, I really don't think it bothers MaxPax at all. Now, this is a map, obviously Royal Blood, and there are a few more out there that don't have a ramp leading into the natural, as MaxPax gets the Nexus down before the cybernetic score. So this is very greedy, obviously the second most greedy build possible besides Nexus first. Since SKillous wasn't even there, didn't even try to block it, SKillous just came in with a plan and he said, alright, on a map with a ramp like Dragon Skills, I'm gonna try to trick you. I'm gonna make it seem like I'll be aggressive, but I actually won't be aggressive. This time around, I know what you will do, and I believe that I can break you here. Now, many players have tried, Ben, not all of them have succeeded, most of them have failed. But if SKillous is going to do this, like, this is obviously going to hit as hard and as quick as possible. And this is really going to be one of these one base, all in or die trying kind of scenarios.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and you know, all the chrono boost that SKillous is going to have available. I would imagine they're all going on that warp gate whenever they're up, whenever they're available, and he gets the scout off. But SKillous, he didn't even try and block the Nexus, you know, like, this is planned. Yep. This is absolutely 100% planned, and he's going into this game and, like, with this in mind of this is exactly what I've practiced for is going to happen. MaxPax is still kind of unaware of where the proxy is, but he's going to find out very, very soon.
I wonder if MaxPax is going to build a forge, because this time around he went for the Stargate, not for the Robo. In that previous game he wished he would have had a Stargate. MaxPax will in the end see it, but definitely took a little while. Gateway number 4 goes down as well. We are back in the Wings of Liberty days, and that adept that MaxPax made is not going to be very useful here at all. A single adept will just not add a whole lot. First Void Ray gets chrono boosted out. I mean, MaxPax is gonna have to micro the ever-living hell out of these voids. And the forge does go down. We're gonna get a lot of batteries and a lot of cannons in the natural, Ben.
I mean, this is from last patch, right? Before all the nerfs, to the Void Rays, to the nerfs to the shield batteries. And this kind of situation, expanding on the low ground, this is kind of the stuff you have to deal with. SKillous, he's putting metal to the pedal kind of thing, and he's going for that first shield battery before the others are getting up. It's actually starting to get very, very spicy very, very quickly.
Yeah, but obviously MaxPax did not make a mistake there, like using an overcharge on a battery that was not going to have an impact. So that overcharge is still available. First Void Ray is out, second Void Ray is on the way. This is just a good old micro battle, guys. It is all about that first move when SKillous feels that he can get a Void Ray. Well, SKillous does not go for the Void, goes for the Stalker. Did kill the cannon there as well. No cancel on that cannon. So a whole lot of minerals have gone down on the side of MaxPax. There is still only one pylon there as well. That's obviously a little bit scary. Gateway's taking damage. Void Ray count at 2. Couple cannons going up. MaxPax should really warp in something. That was a lot of damage on one of these voids. But the overcharge is still available.
It's still available, but oh man, I mean, that gateway, if that gateway goes down, that's actually a big deal as well. The cannons are definitely going to start working wonders here. They make it a lot harder to poke and prod. They're always a bit of a damage dealer, but look at this. They do go down pretty damn quickly, and that shield battery overcharge does not get to keep that battery, or rather that cannon, alive. And that is it for shield battery overcharges for the next minute or so.
Yep, and that overcharge is going to still do its thing for a little bit. Now, the next dive is going to be such an interesting one. Void Ray number 3 is out. It will all come down to the Void Ray positioning. SKillous is looking for that one opportunity where MaxPax exposes his units ever so slightly too much. SKillous feels that there was a moment there. No, he goes for another cannon. Did get the kill. So at this point, it's 3 Void Rays. All the Voids use prismatic alignment. And I guess MaxPax just thought that this was a very scary moment, and this is what he needed. Every second that goes by, MaxPax is mining more. SKillous is now Zealots in the mix as well. Here we go. But look at the pullback on the Void Rays, Ben. Before the Stalkers even get a single shot up, the Void already went back. One of the Void Rays does die. But I think SKillous is losing a few too many Stalkers here. Prismatic Alignment is going to be ready again soon. One more fresh Void Ray is about to come out. And MaxPax knows all he needs to do. Okay, that battery overcharge betrayed MaxPax there, healing up the Adept instead of the Void Ray. But I still think MaxPax has it, unless he makes a big mistake.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like SKillous stopped microing at some point. He stopped dancing. He stood and fought against the cannons and everything. And that's not where the Stalkers shine. They really shine in this real dance back and forth kind of thing. And now the cannons, there's 3 up here. Granted, there's no more shield battery overcharge and what have you, but MaxPax's micro's been on point. He knows how many probes to pull here just to make things a bit more difficult, just to soak up the little body blocking as well. Like that body blocking is so good for the Void Rays.
It's beautiful, man. MaxPax is really once more playing beautiful PvP here. One cannon is going to finish up. I think one prismatic alignment is available. Shield battery overcharge is not quite available. But these Stalkers do not have blink, and it's just so hard to get them all in range of Void Rays at once. And SKillous does get one more cannon. SKillous clearly not done yet. But SKillous obviously knows tick-tock. He's on the clock. He gets another pylon. That's something that MaxPax has to keep in mind. As MaxPax activates prismatic alignment on all 3 voids there, it does guarantee him one more kill. I have the feeling MaxPax has done it, but SKillous is still gonna try, waiting for that one final opportunity. But MaxPax's Void Ray movement, Ben, honestly, frame it, hang it in the loop, because it is a work of art.
I mean, he still has to be careful. I mean, it's a lot of firepower, don't get me wrong. Another shield battery overcharge? Holy crap, that came up fast. And he does get to hold on here. 10 supply ahead. He's had a unit working on the gateways of SKillous back at home as well amidst all this. But, okay, it's just a little cheeky probe. And he's holding. He's been holding really damn well, hasn't he? I mean, these cannons are really good at just securing your line as well. Still has to be a little bit careful, obviously. But I think at this point, MaxPax, as you said, he's done it.
I think he has done it. SKillous knows it as well. One thing that's a bit scary for MaxPax is that maybe he's not 100% sure there is like a weird base somewhere, right? So obviously he's going back into probing. He's got a 35 probe worker count at this point against the 22 of SKillous. But SKillous is walking into a trap. Does get very close to getting a Void. Finally gets one more Void Ray. What? That is only the 3rd Void Ray though that he got all game long. Yeah, this positioning is cool, but prismatic alignment is too much, man, for these Stalkers. The Stalkers of SKillous do not stand a chance here. GG gets called. And MaxPax puts on another clinic of how to hold 3-gate, 4-gate in this case, on a map without a ramp. The Void Ray micro, ban. A lot of people wonder, like, if this is so good, why doesn't every other players do it? And it's because we die. We try, but we die. It is so hard. But MaxPax's Void Ray micro, obviously when it's PvP on the European server, so it's not against the Korean Protoss and US West, where it's a whole lot harder to pull this off. It's magnificent. Like, he really does that better than anyone else. I always thought Void Rays were clunky, silly units with little micro potential, and
he makes them glide, doesn't he? They glide back and forth, and they're always dealing a little bit of damage as well. Like, the first little tickle does the damage, so you don't need to wait around and stuff. And yeah, he makes them look like they're ice skating kind of thing. It's very tricky to do. That's definitely one of the moments where I'm like, that's a map where SKillous had it planned out exactly how his opponent was going to play. And it was scouted pretty late by MaxPax. That isn't saying that he didn't know about it, obviously, but he scouted it late. And he got the Forge up, but it felt like everything was done as well as it could be in the situation, which is... Because I've seen those games where one extra volley goes off on a unit and, you know, you lose the game. And it just comes down to these very little moments where it's like one misstep from either player and they're dead, you know? But he's a hard man to beat, Kev. He's a hard man to beat.
With the way that MaxPax played there, especially the build that he faced, there just is no room for errors. Now, was it 100% perfect? No, maybe he could have cancelled like one cannon, right, that died when the Stalker shots were in the air, but those are like the only little mistakes. When it came to the Void Ray positioning, when it came to timing the overcharge as well, and one time he actually got betrayed because he activated a very solid overcharge that would have kept the Void Ray alive, but that Void Ray was like, oh, Adept needs help, and the battery went for the Adept first, and then it went for the Void. Well, obviously it should have been the other way around, but it's like you said, man, SKillous knew that was going to happen. He wanted that scenario to happen. and he couldn't get it done. So back to the drawing board, back to a map with a ramp here in our final quarterfinals of the ESL Masters Asia. Maybe that was not quite as epic as a 1 hour TVC, but I love it, man. I'm just in awe when I see the micro of these guys, and I can't wait to see what Game 3 has in store for us. Top right side of altitude, we are looking at the main base of the man who's built. Is he cannon rushing or something? What is this? A pylon next to the Nexus? This doesn't make any sense. This is Team Liquid's SKillous. No.
I love how excited you get, but I mean, it is weird, right? This is some Roddy base out here in PvP, I swear. But spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, you know him, you love him, it is MaxPax.
There's only one high-level Protoss in the European scene that sometimes builds his first pylon very casually around his Nexus, and that's Strange. Strange does it, and he's very good at dealing with the first two adepts, if that would be the case, but I do think that SKillous is playing a somewhat dangerous game here, because obviously MaxPax is going to see it. MaxPax will probably not take a crazy debate, and it's like, oh, I should really chrono boost 2 adepts, because that's gonna kill him. I'm sure that SKillous is doing this because he has a plan on how to deal with 2 adepts, and maybe that's even what he wants to go up against, but yeah, it is pretty fascinating. I'm really curious to see where this game will go.
I mean, okay, so, like, what is the advantage of not walling off on a map like this? Like, be it at your ramp, and I mean at your high ground ramp, not just your natural ramp, because I don't see many. Like, if I was to ask you, why do you go for this kind of stuff? Is it because you're greedy, that you want the pylon as fast as possible without moving far away, kind of thing, from the mineral field, or?
Yeah, that is my reasoning, and in the old days, the reasoning was as well that it was actually good if I went up against Adept, since I'm obviously a Phoenix lover, as you know, so I want to go up against Adept. So going for this opening, it may entice your opponents to go for Adepts, which is actually a good scenario. Stalkers are more problematic. For SKillous here, I am honestly not 100% sure why he decided to do it like this. Maybe it's just because he knows 100% certain that MaxPax will 100 out of 100 times go 1 gateway, 1 pylon on the low ground, and then he will expand. And then I guess you don't really need a wall off, right? And it's not that important, because 2 adepts is very scary in the early game. 1 adept, not all that scary.
Yeah, because right now, like, I'm looking at the supplies here. SKillous is going to be supply blocked, whether he wanted to make those next 2 units after the first 2 Stalkers or not. Okay. Nexus does come down. So it does look like this was planned from him. And now they're both totally in the know of what the other guy is going for. MaxPax does have the tech advantage with that Stargate already done. We'll be going for an Oracle here, which isn't the best against these Stalkers, but I don't think they need to be. He has the ramp, he has the Zealot and the Stalker. Yeah, he's fine, but he's the one that can also deal the economic damage now with his opening. Like, it just looks like, even though Skillous knows what he's going for, he's probably a little bit behind here.
MaxPax actually running out with Stalker Zealot is interesting. Now, we've seen MaxPax win PvPs very early a few times with pushes that are not even a push, where it's like a Zealot, a Stalker, Phoenix, an Oracle, and you're like, what? And it's just snowballing completely out of control. Not totally sure what MaxPax was hoping for there. Maybe he thought he was going up against something else, but he saw the 2 Stalkers kill his probe, because that probe identified very, very quickly that Skillous went for a Nexus. This Oracle is not going to get a whole lot done here. I wouldn't even go for the stasis. That would just be silly. Very good chance it will die. So MaxPax will just say like, all right, my expand slightly quicker than yours. You do have a lot of probes. Obviously, MaxPax can just start cranking out 2 probes at a time. And it will be Blink versus Blink. Kind of like roles reversed of game 1, where this time around MaxPax is going to be the one with the Oracles, not 1 and 2, and this is where things already get exciting. Like this move out, Ben, what is this for a move out? Zealot, Stalker, 2 Oracles, but MaxPax just knows that it's going to be very hard for Skillous to deal with all of those units at the same time.
Okay. Skillous is starting to focus the lower health Oracle here and might be able... Oh, lovely micro out of MaxPax. I mean, nice micro by both of them, focusing the correct Oracle. And that probe lead that Skillous garnered from all of this, because I think he was just constantly chrono boosting probes amidst all this, whereas MaxPax had to chrono boost out units just because he didn't know exactly what was going off. He has managed to retain the probe lead here. So any advantage that Skillous had, which was very, very insignificant, now absolutely not there. So yeah, you're totally right. Blink Stalker for both of them, but now MaxPax is the one that is able to really work on that economy of his opponent, and he's going to constantly be the thorn in his side here.
Yep, the Oracle does fall, so that's good news for Skillous. Bad news is that he did lose 4 additional probes, and we are now looking at a 7 worker advantage. Where
Yeah.
does SKillous have the advantage? Well, his blink is a tiny bit quicker. Sometimes these windows are so small, Ben, I don't even want to call them windows, but obviously we are looking at the very finest players in Europe. Maybe SKillous can gain a bit of an advantage out of the fact that he will have blink for a solid 15-20 seconds before MaxPax has blink. And he does already find a probe, and now he wants more. He wants to get the pylon, but obviously needs to be careful. But maybe we can start dancing, right? As the Oracle is still going to be active, by the way, on the other side of the map, and that's something that SKillous still needs to respect, as he loses the sentry for not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot indeed, and he doesn't want to... Oh, I was about to say, he doesn't want to pounce with his blink, because he doesn't know what his situation his opponent's in, but he's close to his base. He has denied the third base for a little bit of time here, just by posing a threat, took out the pylon, took out the probe itself as well, but he has to be careful. He's close to his opponent's base. He does not want to stick around. He knows his opponent has blink, and might suffer a stalker loss for his troubles here.
If it's just one, it's not that bad, but I think there's a good chance he might lose one more, because obviously MaxPax is going to try to blink forward. We'll get a few more shots off. Now SKillous is going to be the one forced to fight here. Does not have a battery yet. MaxPax may just go for that battery, as it's obviously a sitting duck. Also sees a sentry there. Sentries do not have micro potential. Like, the numbers are close enough that SKillous will never die here, but MaxPax is just looking for a good fight. As MaxPax did lose one or two stalkers there, I don't think he necessarily had to lose. SKillous could really use a battery right about now, because the micro has been great, but he barely has any HP on any of these stalkerinos. In the end, the battery finishes up in time. Ooh, that was close.
That was really close. The resource loss between both of them. Nice stasis by MaxPax. Decent pull away from SKillous over here, but the damage will be done. Just a few probes stopped mining in a very similar scenario game. That being said, that third Nexus is so much delayed from MaxPax, isn't it? Like, this is starting to eke out a little bit of a resource lead for SKillous, but he's also functioning off far less gas right now.
He's down 7 stalkers though, Ben. That is a problem. SKillous has invested in a robo. He's got an Immortal on the way. Once Big Daddy Immortal joins the fight, obviously that's going to be lovely. But at this point, yeah, we need an overcharge. Without an overcharge, SKillous can simply not fight such a big stalker deficit. And this is still going to be scary. Don't forget about the Oracle that's still around. But at least the Immortal is there. MaxPax will disengage. I'm surprised that MaxPax does not have like a single pylon or a single probe on the other side of the map. I feel like that would have made this push a whole lot more scary, because his 7 stalker advantage, like, that's serious numbers.
It's nothing to scoff at. Nothing to scoff at whatsoever. He is still putting on the pressure, though. He's finding little angles here and there, both dodging, microing very well. MaxPax, amidst all of this, is still doing work with that Oracle. Still trying to land that dream stasis just to shut everything down. And MaxPax is prowling. He's on the map, and he knows he's got a bigger, better army right now. And he knows that potentially he needs to deal a little bit of damage. But we're looking at the supplies. We're looking at the probe count as well. He's actually sitting very comfortable in this game.
Now, SKillous might be gearing up for one big attack, right? As he does have 2 Immortals. 2 Immortals is not something that MaxPax currently has. Immortals are funny units in PvP. Sometimes fantastic, sometimes so-so. Sometimes you feel like they don't really add a whole lot. But SKillous obviously makes them for a reason, as MaxPax is setting up his first little adept harassment in the natural. This is where things can get scary, because the Immortals are going to be a little bit exposed. MaxPax once more looking for triple prong, and unlike Dragon Skills, this time around I do feel like he's already finding a bit more. And keep an eye on the stalkers of MaxPax, because this man is never just doing one thing at a time.
No, I mean, all these probes that are in the main base, you see them just coming out of stasis now. So MaxPax absolutely testing and pushing SKillous to the limit when it comes to multitasking. And he's getting the damage done. And also he's growing behind it all, most importantly. Look at that probe count. 71 now, 72 to 59. And a 4th base on the go. He's also getting a Warp Prism, the Charge on the go, Dark Shrine. He's just evolving behind this. He's not slowing down at any point in time.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while before that Dark Shrine comes into play. Like, if SKillous already had a Warp Prism, this would still be scary, right? Because you would normally believe in the power of the Immortals to really make a difference in a potential fight like this. As Charge is still not quite done. Zealots are funny, sometimes they're great, and sometimes they can actually be a bit mediocre. If the amount of range units just gets a bit too high, Stalkers or Zealots kind of run in one by one and they die one by one. As another stasis trap has gone up in the natural. SKillous was reacting to it though, only a couple of probes. SKillous is looking for an opening, but I don't see how he's ever going to end this game, man, without a Warp Prism or a Warp in point on the other side of the map. Altitude is simply way too big of a map for an attack like this.
Oh, and MaxPax knows it as well. He blinks on those Immortals. They are gone. Any kind of advantage that SKillous had, it's just gone. And now he's having to fight near a shield battery if he wants to engage. But SKillous, he's on a clock, man. There's no fourth base, not one started even remotely. And the game is not going to get easier for him before it gets much, much harder.
Yeah, no, this is going to get gnarly. SKillous does have his Prism on the other side of the map, so he's got another chance. MaxPax is also looking to warp in a couple of units on the other side of the map, and SKillous finds a few Zealots here before the fight truly goes down. With that Warp Prism on the high ground, there is a chance. Ooh. It's 1-1 upgrades for both players, or at least +1, as there is a DT in the mix here for MaxPax. SKillous doesn't have an Observer. That Observer is chilling next to his Warp Prism. And now MaxPax kind of needs to get this Warp Prism, as SKillous just had the superior concave. This is a much better attack than the first round for SKillous.
Holy crap, that went a lot better for SKillous than I thought it was going to go. He's also got a cannon in his main here, but I'm seeing a red dot in absolutely every one of SKillous's bases right now. Yeah. So much harass going on. There's an Oracle in his... In fact, there's a DT Oracle in his natural, DT in his third base. That dies. In the main base, it gets cleaned up as well. But the supply is pretty close, but MaxPax is able to hold on. But he did lose his fourth base behind it, but he's kept alive his eco as well.
Yep, now what MaxPax will have is much quicker +2, but obviously that looked incredibly grim for SKillous initially when he tried to push up the ramp at the third base of MaxPax. And like, okay, this is now about to end, because that just really didn't go a whole lot, or didn't go anywhere. But the attack on the fourth was a lot better. Warp Prism in the back, immediate reinforcements, and just a beautiful concave on all of his units. And it allows SKillous to still dream. But I still think he's in a bit of trouble. MaxPax has the Work Elite, MaxPax has the Upgrade Elite, and MaxPax has a Dark Shrine, which is just one more thing you constantly have to worry about as SKillous.
And this Oracle, man, it's pouring salt in the wound at this point. I don't know how many probes it stopped from mining. I would love to see a statistic for how much resources that has single-handedly stopped in this game, because it's been a lot, man. And DTs, look at that. Just again, is he going to get that cannon before it goes up as well? Probably not by the looks of it. It's kind of close. Now shield battery overcharge just to keep it alive, but... Oh, man. Oh, man. Don't know how they got in the main.
The SKillous had a Warp Prism in the main base. He dropped a couple of Zealots there, and that did distract MaxPax for a split second. The SKillous tried to make some magic happen with the Stalkers. Good news is, though, with all this has gone by, MaxPax never fired up +3, and +2 for SKillous is about to finish up. So... does that mean SKillous is completely back in the game? Well, it's competitive, it's close, he is behind. And for the first time in the series, though, we see a Robo Bay going down. I kind of wonder what that is for. Like, we are very eager to always say, oh, disrupt this, but this is not really a disruptor game so far. This map is so large, as one of the observers got picked off there for SKillous. That is something that he needs to keep in mind, as MaxPax is basically trying to do the same attack as SKillous did, and most of this fight is taking place before +2 kicks in. As it kicks in now, Ben, but look at the line of Stalkers for the Prince.
And he's just got more, and look at it. Every unit is firing efficiently. SKillous is having to work against his nexus, against his positioning. I mean, that blue goo energy from the shield battery is coming in, but MaxPax can just bide his time, re-go again. He's just got more. I mean, his units are clumping up a little bit on this ramp. Finally, the position is working for SKillous here, but he's been having to work against this Oracle the whole game, man, as well, while all this is going on. But MaxPax got a real damn good lead now.
Yep, that was one of the better fights that MaxPax has taken all game. It's almost like he just took notes immediately. Like, hey, that was a great position, SKillous. How would you like it if I return the favor and I'll force you to fight in the position that I was in? As a couple of probes are going to fall, Zealots are keeping all the targets of SKillous at bay. And I think that this is just it, man. MaxPax too far ahead. SKillous tried to make a little investment into a Robo Bay. Unfortunately, it never came into play. GG gets called. MaxPax with an Oracle that was around from the very beginning till the very end. Drops like 7 or 8 stasis traps throughout the game. Takes the 2-1 lead.
Really good out of him, eh? Really good out of him. I mean, like, the start of the game, he just plays good, solid, gets the Oracles out. And there are games like that where it just works out so cleanly and so nicely that I then have to wonder, like, why doesn't everybody do these kind of openings, you know? Like, I'm seeing... But then again, you have to think on the other side of things. Do you really want to go for these Expo builds against the master of these Expo builds? Yeah. Like, that is obviously so frightening, and it's such a hopeless situation to be in.
One thing that is very scary about doing the exact same thing as MaxPax, and this is kind of what it all boils down to, why he's such a nuisance and a nightmare for people to go up against in PvP, is that if you completely mirror him, then we don't go Oracle, then we go Phoenix. And if it's Phoenix against Phoenix, well, MaxPax just also happens to be the very best at that. And that's why basically you always try to not do exactly the same thing as him, but then obviously you're going to put yourself in positions where he is going to be able to at least find some momentum with maybe oracles earlier on, or he will have the tiny economic lead, because just doing the exact same thing often leads into Phoenix versus Phoenix. If you just want to avoid the Phoenix versus Phoenix and you go Twilight Council, well, then you have to go up against his oracles, which is a nightmare. If you go Robo, you basically force yourself to all in him because oracles are too good. It's solving the PvP puzzle that is MaxPax is incredibly difficult. We really got to give some kudos to Mana though, and Mana obviously teammates with SKillous right now, because in the final playday of our Swiss format, MaxPax did drop 2 series in the group stage against Lambo and Raynor, and the final series was against Mana, where Mana took a convincing 1-0 lead, where he just played incredibly solid, a beautiful game, and in that second game, Mana almost had him. So it is possible, it is doable. Mana was awfully close, but especially here in the playoffs. We saw MaxPax yesterday against Showtime. Like, it's unless you love it, it is disgusting how good this kid is in PvP.
Yeah, he's been scary for so long, and the patch nerfed a lot of the stuff that he was really utilizing, like the Void Ray costs, the speed, everything about them, and that was really kind of his go-to of how to defend against a lot of these builds. Then shield batteries as well, it was just like, yeah, this one with half the energy now, kind of. So a lot of those things got nerfed, and it was like, okay, he's being reset, got to learn it all over again, but he's come back, and he's almost better than he ever. In fact, he is better than he ever was. Like, now he's absolutely vying for best pro in the world title, along with the likes of Hero at this point.
This man has made it into the top 4 in the past. There is a very select group of players that ever broke into the top 4 of an ESL Masters Europe Regionals, but he is one of the 2 Protosses to do so in the past. In the top left side of Neo Humanity, now 1 map away from once more making a semi-finals appearance. This is Psystorm Gaming's MaxPax.
And spawning over in the southeast side, again opting for the high ground pylon, it is SKillous. I don't know what to think, man. I don't know what to think, you know. I look at the openings and I'm like, okay, how's he going to bust this one? How's he going to get ahead in this one? I mean, obviously a different map and a different scenario, but whew, I just start to feel a little bit hopeless, and I'm not even the one playing.
Well, one thing that we haven't seen yet, Ben, and that's basically the 101 on how to tackle a guy like MaxPax, is some serious delaying on the Nexus. And if I think back of why Mana found some success against MaxPax, is where even if Mana played double gate, he actually got his Nexus down at pretty much the exact same moment as MaxPax got his Nexus down. And that wasn't with, oh, I'm gonna pylon block and I'm gonna build a Cybercore. No, it was pylon block into cancel, into another pylon block, maybe one more cancel, and then the Cybercore. But apparently SKillous just has different plans. SKillous says, nope, I am not going to play that game. I will not play the delay game. I don't want to go up against your quick Stargate shenanigans. Go ahead and take that Nexus, and I'm gonna try to do something about it. And this time around, Ben, he's building a pylon basically next to the natural of MaxPax, but obviously that's still divided by the gold minerals.
Yeah, so like a pylon in this position, obviously the walk distance to your opponent, you have to go round regardless. Is this more of like a Stargate proxy or a Robo proxy, or is this literally just a proxy pylon?
No, it's definitely not just a proxy pylon. It is going to be Stargate this time around. Look at this, by the way, on the production tab. Yeah, but that's fake. Like, what SKillous is doing here is like, hey, I'm just building 2 units the way that I'm always building 2 units. But he cannot show that these gateways are not working. Because if they weren't working, then MaxPax's alarm bells and the spidey senses go off immediately. MaxPax only needs to catch a glimpse of that for a couple of seconds. So that was just skidded like, hey man, nothing to worry about. Definitely no proxy Stargate. And then the probe leaves and he's like, all right, let's cancel these zealots. Zealots are useless. But obviously they are the cheapest of the 3 options. So he just had to sell it once more. That goes into the mind games. But I don't think that MaxPax is really buying a whole lot of it. It is going to be a Stargate for MaxPax as part of the ramp in the natural. SKillous goes for an Oracle, so it will probably be Oracles into Expand for SKillous, because obviously an all-in here seems very unlikely. I am curious to see where this one will go, Benny.
I mean, that is as close as a Stargate as you can get, practically. And I mean, there is a Void Ray on the go, which, if it gets its hands on the Oracle, will take it out, obviously. But I do see potential with this, Kev. I mean, the shield battery, where's that other shield battery being morphed in here? It is at the front. So MaxPax, he thinks he's up against something at the front. This is absolutely one of the ways to make magic happen, right?
Yep, look at this Oracle just very casually flying into the main base. Void Ray almost out. Ooh, SKillous, there's more potential there. There was more potential than just 3 workers, Benny, because there was barely any anti-air on the side of MaxPax. Like, this is a very solid Oracle. It's 6 in the end. You gotta be happy with that. And I still felt that he could have gotten a little bit more. But what is very cool right now is that MaxPax seems to think that the follow-up, as there is an Adept, by the way, in the main base of SKillous, that is going to hurt. But MaxPax seems to think that this is a 1 base all-in, but SKillous has taken that very weird base at 6 o'clock.
He has, but this single Adept, man, this is getting some real damage done, isn't it? Like, this is not what you want. He will get shut it down eventually, but maybe he gets 1 extra probe here, waiting for it to pop out. I mean, that obviously shouldn't have happened. Well done by MaxPax.
Uh-oh. Someone is lagging. Mia Nonna. One of our Italian casters, I think.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with a name like that. Mia Nonna.
Oh, that's maybe just the way that I pronounce it.
I think it was definitely how you said it.
You can also go with, like, Mayan on. You know, then it sounds a whole lot less Italian, but...
You can also go with Mia. In fact, dude, my Italian sounds like my Swedish. I was about to try and do it. I was like, no, it's just going to sound Italian again.
All right, memes aside, obviously that's 1 Adept. Earlier I said 1 Adept is not normally the worst thing in the world to deal with if you know it's going to show up in your main base, right? If you don't go for a wall-off, you're like, okay, I have to make sure that if 1 Adept shades in, I can deal with it. SKillous did go for the wall-off setup, so obviously he was not supposed to let that 1 Adept sneak in. That 1 Adept kind of ruined an amazing start, but it's still an alrighty start for SKillous, right? It's still, there's everything to play for, and it's going to be very hard for MaxPax to really figure all of this out. Even though MaxPax, his scouting truly is second to none, but out of all the bases on the map, Ben, that's the last one that I would check for.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so... I want to use the word obvious as a different base to take, but in its obviousness, it's not at all, and it's still safe if it gets down and dirty and it keeps on going. Nice catch on these Oracles with this Phoenix. Will most likely try and recall if he has the energy, but it looks like he doesn't by the looks of it. Might be able to get some Stalkers in the way, trying to keep them alive, and will do just that.
Yeah, now MaxPax is like, okay, if I'm already on the other side of the map with my Phoenix, I may as well... Does not see the Nexus, but he sees probes. And I think if MaxPax was paying attention, look at that probe that's now heading towards the bottom side of the map. It is very hard to fool the Prince. Oracles have swapped around, though. They are going to show up in the natural of SKillous, excuse me, of MaxPax. And once more, they're going to zap down a very decent amount of probes. That was actually very sweet Oracle movement. Because we are looking at that Phoenix, we are looking at the Adept or the probe that's scouting on the other side of the map, and the Oracles were already there to actually create a pretty damn serious worker advantage here for SKillous.
The Oracle did get sniped in the middle of the map on its return by the Phoenix, though, so nice grab by MaxPax there. Does, you know, stop the bleeding from the Oracles, but the damage has been done, hasn't it? Like this,
that's
this
the
work
first
account.
time. Sorry to interrupt you there, Ben, but that's literally the first time that MaxPax realized what was up, because he was actually building another cannon right before that probe died to those Stalkers, and he finally saw the Nexus. He was building another cannon. It's not just that the economic damage has been dealt, it's just that MaxPax has also dealt a lot of damage to himself by building 3 shield batteries. Obviously, 1 is necessary against the Oracle, maybe 2. Third one would not have been necessary. He built a cannon, and on top of that, he's got 2 Void Rays right now. And of course, the Void Rays were the absolute MVPs in that game on Royal Blood. This time around, this is a completely different ballgame, because Blink Stalkers are about to be done. Blink for the Stalkers, that is. And yeah, Blink Stalkers already moving out. So these Void Rays, they have very little potential in this game.
They have little potential. I mean, that is a juicy pylon that they could try and get. They will go for the shield battery immediately. And I mean, SKillous does have to respect this, doesn't he? Because I mean, he will get back here. But I mean, when you see that your opponent's really committed, okay, this is some damage starting to get done. That shield battery obviously a little bit placed away there. But MaxPax needs that to happen a good, like, 2 or 3 more times in this kind of game, because even though he's getting damage, he's behind on tech, like you said. His Twilight Council's only just finishing.
Man, I actually think if SKillous doesn't recall there and he just attacks with all the Blink Stalkers...
Just kills him?
He was pretty much in the natural of MaxPax. Like, what does MaxPax have to fight 8 Blink Stalkers? 2 cannons, or 2 batteries and a cannon, and 3 Stalkers without Blink. MaxPax would have very, very little micro potential there. SKillous would just be able to blink past these batteries. I actually think that SKillous did exactly what MaxPax prayed he would do there, and that is recall and give him time.
Yeah, I mean, but is time on your side? I mean, time's better than dying for sure, but we've got 13 Stalkers on the map for SKillous. He's also able to take a third. For MaxPax to even think about moving out here, he has to kill some of his own buildings, which, you know, you never feel good about doing, but SKillous is just ahead in a lot of ways. The one thing that MaxPax does have going for him is the fact that he started +1 a little bit earlier, but I mean, that's the silver lining of a very, very dark cloud.
Yeah. The Void Rays are going to be very funny, because obviously they are not the same as an Oracle or a Phoenix, where they can just fly around and, you know, be a harassment unit. They're not great in the fights, but they're also good enough that you can't ignore them, right? You can't just fight, oh, Stalker versus Stalker at full range, and then let 2 Void Rays very casually chip in with prismatic alignment. But it also really sucks if you have a bunch of Stalkers and you're forced to fight Void Rays first before you can fight the Stalkers of your opponent, because then you also feel like, okay, now I'm definitely going to lose the Stalker battle. So I think what SKillous is going to hope for is that eventually he just gets kind of a free pick-off of one of the Void Rays and they can disengage. And this is still, I think, Ben, a pretty damn competitive game. Even if a lot of things have gone well for SKillous, the Oracles, they found a tremendous amount of damage. MaxPax, his scouting, I don't want to say it let him down, but it took him a long time to really put it together, what SKillous was doing. But MaxPax wouldn't be MaxPax if he was still just kind of in this game.
No, he wouldn't. I mean, he's making good out of a very, very bad situation. I mean, and I still see opportunities where this could go awry. Like, you know, a blink on top of that stasis, and it's like, oh damn. Then a few Stalkers get caught out. But SKillous is doing everything that he should be doing, isn't he? Maybe he should be probing a little bit more. Maybe, but it's one of those situations where you don't want to lose when you're ahead. So making units, but. The longer this goes on for, and the longer that MaxPax is still alive, the more I do start worrying a little bit for SKillous being so cautious and not adding on these probes.
Yeah, and even the 4th Nexus was not even like a whole lot quicker, right? Maybe the 3rd Nexus was a whole lot quicker, but the 4th Nexus is now only going to go down. For MaxPax, I think it's just all going to be about surviving. It's 16 Stalkers on the side of MaxPax against 28 on the side of SKillous, but stasis trap Benjamin Baker. Do you predict the future, my friend? And how good is Stormgate going to be? Please tell me. But yeah, that was a big old stasis. The funny thing is, oh, War Prism was actually carrying a couple of the sentries. MaxPax blinks forward again. Oh, yeah. But eventually, all of these other units are going to be freed up. And SKillous does still have more units than MaxPax. But there is another state. No. That is pure pain. Because in a weird way, it wasn't even that bad at first. Where are all the other units from MaxPax? He recalled them. He needs to buy some time. Now the reinforcements have shown up. MaxPax still down in army supply, but he's buying once more a lot of time, and the Immortal is on the way. 18 Stalkers against 34, but static defenses are nothing to laugh at in PvP.
Oh, and like, because they blinked into it, their blink was still on cooldown. I mean, we look at supplies now, Kevin. All of a sudden, we're actually in a game. Like, that was the dream scenario. That was what MaxPax was truly hoping for here, and my goodness, SKillous's heart must have sunk on that first stasis trap and must have fell right out of his body on that second one.
Yeah, the second one was even worse, because the first one was like so big that you don't have to worry about it, where it's like, okay, I know I need to run away. The second one was awkward, right, where it's like, I can't let those units die, but I also can't stick around because it's still too many units away from my army right now. And because indeed Blink was used, obviously they couldn't just run away immediately. I think there were a couple of adepts on the right side, but it seems like SKillous has already taken care of that. MaxPax is going to drop the Robo Bay and the second Robo. So for the first time in this series, I know we saw one Robo Bay on altitude, but it never really came into play. And SKillous is doing the same thing. SKillous is playing Double Forge, by the way, Ben. That's the only real difference between these two. We're gonna get some good old Disruptor Wars here, because Colossus, even though they can be solid sometimes in PvP, this right here is not a Colossus game, because the armies are basically pure Stalkers, and there's no need to ever make a Colossus against a pure Stalker army.
No, that would just complicate things for yourself. An unmicrable Stalker in this situation that doesn't deal bonus damage and just takes a hell of a lot of bonus damage. But I do like the double forge kind of situation that SKillous has got himself into. He does have a massive store count. In fact, both of them are huge, 40 versus 34. But MaxPax, what a little warrior, man. He's holding on here. He is on less bases, but that just shows the confidence of him. The fact that he's able to hold on here and really utilize every unit to its full potential. What a scary situation, man.
Yep. One thing that SKillous already has is 3 observers, by the way, and that's actually very nice. Because vision is everything in Stalker Disruptor. That's going to allow you to put your army in the correct positions. As a revelation goes down, SKillous needs to be careful as there are still some stasis traps around. Just got a couple of shots off there. I'm surprised that SKillous is here at the moment. I almost feel like this is just like, I'm going to see what I can get done, but he needs to be very careful because he does not have his Disruptors here. And obviously that is a bit of a choke point. SKillous is going to very wisely disengage. Like, this is just one of these games, Ben, where I think we're going to see a lot of Purification Novas flying around. Both players felt that this was the right moment to transition. As MaxPax maybe think, hey, am I the only one with Disruptors? Yeah, how aggressive can I be? But I think with that revelation, he will see that SKillous has at least one and potential multiple Disruptors. I think we're just going to get a good old bowling game here.
I think so. That is a scary first one to start things off. That Immortal almost dying before the fight really began here. But now it is a game of cat and mouse. And as you said, bowling balls going on. And right now, neither one of them can really truly engage through this choke here, where it is very nicely set up with the destructible debris lining things up. But, oh, MaxPax somehow found a way back into this game. And now he's not looking down and out anymore.
SKillous is already thinking about the potential next phase of this game as he goes triple Stargate, 4 Stargates, cancels one of them as I guess the Disruptor got stuck, and he's going to build his second Cybernetics core. Doesn't SKillous, or no, he lost his Stargate initially because it was proxied, never mind. I was like, maybe he can already build a Fleet Beacon. That is not the case. What I loved for SKillous initially was the fact that he already had 3 observers out, but 2 out of 3 observers died very quickly, so this right here is the only one that he currently has out on the map. I'd love to see both of the guys invest in observer speed here. I think it's very important. As MaxPax has found a way, something that SKillous tried to do for a while, and that is trying to catch the army out of position. SKillous was napping there for a split second. MaxPax gets himself in a scary spot, and this now becomes a very difficult base for SKillous to defend. SKillous is trying, but I think he's making life very hard on himself. He does have a little flank, and he blinks forward, Ben.
Oh my goodness, I mean, he gets a few of the Disruptors, and he comes in with a flank on the bottom there with a lot of Zealots, which actually do a good job, but he has to be so careful. MaxPax, he got over there way too freely, man. Like, Disruptors, they are so good at defensive play, but they're not necessarily great at pushing your way in. So the fact that MaxPax just kind of canoodled on over there down that left valley, that is not what SKillous can allow him to do, and I'm starting to feel the panic and worry in SKillous.
Well, yeah, that's something that happened once, and obviously SKillous is like, okay, that shouldn't have happened. I do love how decisive he was in the end, where he said, nope, I believe that I can defend this, especially with a couple of Zealots coming in from the bottom. But yeah, now once more, SKillous is kind of getting bullied. It is 6 Disruptors against 5, but I only see 3 of them here. And as who fired first? It is MaxPax who fired first. SKillous is setting up a bit of a flank with a couple of Zealots and a Sentry, apparently. I guess we're just going to try to free up some army supply here.
I mean, he is going into the carriers here. Like, he has been richer throughout this game, and he's been working off at least 1 more base throughout the entire time. He's on 5 bases, soon to be 6 now. It feels like every Disruptor that's being shot by MaxPax gets something done. Whereas I cannot say the same about any one of SKillous's Disruptors.
Oh no, they're so exposed, Ben. All 4 of them are going to fire. The Disruptors will get a couple of decent explosions, but that is still all the Disruptors that SKillous had out and about on the map. All of them fall at the same time. MaxPax got 7, and these 7 Disruptors are about to make this game a little bit more complicated. I think SKillous is just going to have to temporarily give up a base. There is no need to lose a game over one of your many bases. SKillous is investing in carry, is investing in double cybercore. I don't think there is a need to take bad fights before your carriers show up and can have an impact. SKillous is still trying though, does not want to lose this Nexus for free. In the end, he is forced to let it go. One more Disruptor, a little bit misrelied. I think a tiny forward blink could have gotten it there for MaxPax. But it seems that the Prince is happy with what he got out of all of this so far. What he doesn't know, though, are those carriers, Ben. 3 of them are out. 3 carriers are impactful. But I don't think it's like a game-changing number, especially now with this many Stalkers on the side of MaxPax. But if that carrier count climbs a bit higher, then it's going to be very interesting to see what MaxPax will do about it.
I mean, MaxPax, he just feels so big, like his army. He's the one that's constantly bullying. He's also dealing economic damage to that far right base here. Disruptors are also working wonders for him. Right now, he's just getting edge after edge after edge, and I feel that he is just bigger and stronger, which, oh man, what a situation for MaxPax to come back in a game like this. He truly is the best at PvP, Kev. He truly is.
The forward blink there gets 2 out of the 3 carriers, and carriers are way too expensive and build way too long to produce to lose him like that. Well, actually, only 1 of the 3 apparently went down. I thought 1 more fell, but the bigger problem for SKillous is that, again, he is back to a single disruptor. And we can really see how MaxPax uses these disruptors so well to zone out the army. SKillous feels that this is his moment, his one chance to get the job done, as we have a forward blink. 1 of the 2 carriers dies. The final carrier will die, as MaxPax is also able to recall a couple of the disruptors out. A messy, bloody fight with a lot of casualties on both sides, but SKillous has lost the bases. SKillous has lost